Back in 1989, the Coen Brothers went down to New Orleans, Louisiana to film their third directorial feature, Miller's Crossing. It's one of the underappreciated gems in their filmography, and it just celebrated its 30th anniversary, so while we were down in the Big Easy, we explored the Warehouse District and a couple of other spots to see what has and hasn't changed since the filming of Miller's Crossing. I think you're going to be surprised by some of these spots, so please join us. Okay, if you haven't seen Miller's Crossing, I'm going to try to summarize it really quick, which is kind of hard to do because of all the moving parts, but here's the rumpus, as they say. The movie follows a man named Tom Reagan. He's played by Gabriel Byrne. He's the advisor to an Irish mob boss, Leo O'Banion, played by Albert Finney, and their rival gang, the Italian mob, wants to whack Bernie, who's played by John Turturro. However, Bernie is the brother of Leo's girlfriend, or Twist as they call him, so Leo doesn't want to allow it. Well, Leo's girlfriend is also seeing Tom Reagan behind Leo's back, which causes a rift between Leo and Tom. Tom then joins up with the Italians, but isn't totally loyal to them as he begins to puppeteer everything, and then the rest is for you to see. But let's go ahead and jump into this first location. It's at the International House Hotel, and this is where they filmed Leo's office, shown several times in the movie, most notably during the opening scene, that homage to The Godfather's opening, and also shown prominently in the scene where Tom admits to Leo that he's seeing Verna before Leo ends up beating Tom out of the building. This was built in 1906 as a bank, and then it became a World Trade Center, which is why it's called the International House. That was then turned into a hotel in 1998, 8 years after the movie was filmed. The bar area was also filmed in this building, but it's been remodeled a couple times, so it's not really recognizable where those parts were filmed. The reason we knew that this was Leo's office is because it's the only semicircular window on the building. You can also see that the windows match up on the building across the street if you look through the window. It looks a little bit closer in the movie because of the lens they used, but yes, definitely the same. And this is Leo's office. It's now the Teutonia Cosmo meeting room in the International House Hotel.
Today I ain't selling any, so take your flunky and dangle.
Here's the exterior of the Shenandoah Club, Leo's Club in Miller's Crossing. It's the side of the building where they shot the interiors. So that's all in here. But when the police raid happens after Tom comes into the bar, he comes walking out of this doorway and up to the police chief again. And that is all right here. You can see the lamppost is still there. You know, you can see those columns in the background with that seal right there. Still there. The only difference is that awning is gone. Next up is the spot on Magazine Street where they went walking down the sidewalk. This is the most New Orleans looking spot in the movie for sure. The poles there on the sidewalk holding up the galleries overhead. This is where Tom goes to meet the guy getting his shoes shined. Tom walks up past the shoe shiners. The guy hops down. About right here is where those guys were. He hops down and they start walking in this direction. When they're walking, you can see these diamonds on this part of the wall under the windows. Red and white in the movie, now like green and beige, sort of. And they walk down here and then some goons come and stop them, take Tom off to see Casper and the crew. Casper's goons bring Tom here and start to try and beat him up. There's a police raid. Tom gets out of there and he walks out from there to the side over here and talks to the police chief for a really funny conversation. And that's all right here in the Warehouse District of New Orleans. I don't know if they filmed inside this one. This was the exterior. I at least know that. The Tommy gun shootout scene happened on this street, pretty recognizable with these trees, and I have used the trees to figure out the exact spots that each thing happened. So you see him come out, we get a medium shot of him from behind, shooting his Tommy gun at the vehicle. You can recognize a shot of the car driving off in the distance. It's over around here, right before it's about to crash into the tree. You can see this tree with the three parts of the trunk going in that direction, and you can see this tree here with the crook, and then it's like sort of twisting there. You can see that in the background. Now when the car wrecks into a tree, if you look at the shot, you see this tree. This is the one with the three branches going off in that direction. You count the trees, so there's that one, this one, and the next one is where the car runs into and explodes. The shot is kind of like this, directly at the tree behind the car, and you can see this tree to the right, as well as this lamppost here to the left of it. Back on Magazine Street, after Tom tells CASPAR'S guys where John Turturro's hiding out, they go and find him here at the Royale Hotel. This is what the building looks like. You only really see it through the car windows. Tom's sitting there. We're looking at his profile. He's sitting in the car, and they slam him up against the window and throw John Turturro back into the back of the car. And that all happened right here on Magazine Street. Some little miniature alligators on this porch at the Royale. Or the sign would have been about right up there. I wonder if those little gators were here back in the day. Probably not. You can still see the glue. We're over at the building now where the police raided. They blew it up with the Molotov cocktail through the window. A guy flies out and lands on the street. Someone sticks their arm out with a surrender flag, and you see the front of this building shown from a direct on angle. And then we also get a couple shots across or down the street when the building actually explodes, and it's right here, different color now, but when it explodes we see it shoot out from here. This is the angle it was taken from. You can recognize that older building back there. And all the cops were lined across this street, including a cameo from Sam Raimi, good friend of the Coen Brothers, where he gets shot. There was a big wall up there. I don't know if that was actually there or if it was used to cover up some of this stuff in the background. Coming up here in this building with the columns where these people are sitting on the stairs is where they filmed the mayor's office scene, where Caspar is berating the mayor, trying to get him to do what he wants. And it still looks exactly the same in there. I think it's an events venue now. So we can't get in. I didn't try to schedule anything with them to see it. But as far as I can tell, the mayor's office that was used still looks exactly the same, including the pictures on the walls and everything. I don't know how to say this road name. It's either Gravier or Gravier. I don't know how the locals would say it, but it's the corner of that and Magazine. And this is the building where CASPAR'S goons came to pick up Tom, ask him whether or not he actually killed John Turturro. Everything here still looks pretty much the same. There's no sign on the corner. There's no fire escape there. But the lampposts are the same. The buildings are colored the same. Pretty cool. We're in an alleyway here in New Orleans, and this is, or was dressed up to look like Chinatown in the movie Miller's Crossing in whatever city it's supposed to take place in. And we see Tom towards the end of the movie walk out of a restaurant here. And he walks down this street. You can see that lamppost is still the same. A lot of stuff unchanged here. But then the girl comes and approaches him from the left side, and they duck into one of these doorways here because it's raining. And that was somewhere around here. And then she walks off in the rain down the center of this alley, and you can see that thing going across the buildings. We're over here on St. Charles Avenue for our next location, which is the exteriors of Tom's apartment, which was called the Barton Arms in the movie. If that word sounds familiar, that is because they were writing Barton Fink at the same time as they were writing Miller's Crossing. They had some writer's block, so they just decided to stop, wrote Barton Fink, and then finished up Miller's Crossing. So this was the Barton Arms. It's now called the Fern. Probably was back then too. I guess the most you see of this building in the movie is this angle. When the guy is dropping Casper off here, you see those two trees, that one leaning out. If you go over there and see the sidewalk, it is like very up and over right now because of that tree. But he pulls up right in front of here. Tom shows up and says, "Hey, get out of here. I'll take care of him. I'll pick him up," and walks in to the entrance of the Barton Arms. That window up there above the doorway, still there, where it used to say Barton Arms. And as soon as these cars pass, I'll run up and show you that the door is still there as well, from that noir-esque silhouette shot that was photographed during the movie. So, as I approach, you can see that the door appears to still be the same, other than the fact that it now has no glass where there's supposed to be glass. And we see Tom from this angle before he walks in to find Casper dead, and then shoots John Turturro's character. So unfortunately, we did not get to visit the actual Miller's Crossing location where Bernie is out there in the woods begging for Tom not to kill him. That's out in Hammond, Louisiana, but the fact that it's in the woods and the fact that there isn't really any Google Street View around that spot meant that I could not identify it definitively, and it's kind of far out from New Orleans anyway. It's closer to Baton Rouge. But if anyone sees this and knows exactly where that spot is, please let me know. I'd love to find it. And before the video ends, I have a quick bonus spot. This is the warehouse where they shot all of the interior sets for Miller's Crossing. Thank you guys for checking out this video, and if you want to see more filming locations, click like, click subscribe. That'll also help people find this video, which is a huge help to us, so please click those if you liked it, and we will see you next time.